Yo, yo. Yeah. I want to make sure we're good to go, babe. Hold on 1 second. Yo. What's up? Trying to make sure we live everywhere. Trying to make sure we live everywhere. Okay. All right. So we live on Facebook. If you guys are tuning in to Facebook, just go to the Facebook page, King Render, and then go ahead and just hit the post, and you'll come right in live. All right. For all of you that are going through Facebook, just go ahead and hit the post and you can come in live. All right. We also got a live chat room so you guys could have at it. You know, today we're talking about the state of the Black Union. Just to kind of let you guys know where we're coming from on this, man. We're just trying to, just like any family, we go through our turmoil, but we know it's time to hash out our issues with one another, and it's time to come back closer to one another, grow with each other. And so we're coming tonight, man, basically to give a male and female perspective on some of the issues in the Black community and also some of the solutions. I dare not come on here and, try to say anything about all the issues as if we don't know without trying to galvanize and energize ourselves to think about some of the resolutions to some of these issues. Um, but anyway, man, that's what we doing. I got the queen on right there. Babe, go ahead and introduce yourself real quick while I try to adjust my little sound system real quick. Hey, you on mute. Get off mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. We can hear you
Sorry about
now.
that.
Yeah, what were you saying?
No, hi everybody. It's Nikosha, and I was just sitting here, very excited about what we're about to discuss. It's a much needed topic. Hopefully, everyone can join in, learn something from it, and use the knowledge that you've learned to push forward.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, when we're talking about like uh you know, black people as a whole, we kind of know the narrative. A lot of people like to start our history out with, slavery and all that type of stuff. But I like to get people's perspective on what they think about, history, what they think about our culture as being a black person. What are some of the benefits? What are some of the disadvantages that you may see, especially as being a female? As far as being black and as far as carrying the history that you've carried. Would you like to answer to that, Miss Kaushi?
Um, Being a black female and living in this society that we're in today, it's a lot of things that need to be changed. It's a lot of things that can be worked on, and it's a lot of things that are being done that are good things. But one of the issues that black females face is the lack of self-respect for themselves, yet wanting someone else to have respect for you. You can't expect something that you don't give to yourself or your sister. So I think that's a big issue that we do have, is that we're quick to say, to whoever this dude is, don't call me this, that, and the other. But then when you're talking to your girlfriends, it's bitch this, bitch that. You know,
Yeah.
you're quick to talk about sisterhood and unity and join sororities and, oh, we love each other the whole 9 yards. You go to church every Sunday and it's all about, worshiping and hugging and everything under the sun. But then when you walk out of there, you see a chick on the street and it's like, oh, look at her, she thinks she better than me, or I don't like how she looks, or whatever the case may be. It's just too much negativity. So it's a contradiction between what you say you want and what you actually do. So then in the end, you expect not only people of other races, but also men within your own to respect you and who you are, but you're not doing it to yourself or to your sister next to you. So, how can you have any type of bond within the community when you don't love who you are or love the extension of you, which is your sister?
Hmm. It's quite ironic that you would mention, love, because that is really the essence of life itself. I think a lot of us, especially coming up in some of the environments that we are raised in, sometimes we get so disappointed by humans that we no longer trust in the human system, and we no longer apply the effort that it takes to build sustainable relationships with one another, because so many people have just stabbed us in the back, and it starts young, right? And so I believe that when you are raised in these type of environments and you're seeing these types of things, it can cultivate one's perspective and one's outlook on how close they get to people, right? And so we're always eager to be with people, but in all honesty, we never really gave 100% of ourselves to anybody, right? And so you have this thing of where our wants, um, our preparation is not necessarily ready for our wants, so to speak, if you understand what I'm saying. We want these things, but we're not prepared for them in a sense. And it's because to me, we've been kind of handicapped based on our history, based on some of the defects that we have coming up in our society as just male and female African Americans. I think that we come in handicapped and we have to really learn. If we don't really learn work ethic young, is just for, honestly, it's just a trigger to go downhill, and a lot of decision making, I would say, would be skewed based on those conditions. So when you're talking about the ladies, you know we're living in a capitalistic society where it's so competitive, and everything is competitive. Compete for this and you compete for that, and you know honestly, that competitiveness is not only just in the job market, it's also in our social arena. What we're doing for women and what we're doing for men, and what we have, it's drastically changed from 20 years ago what people were willing to do to right now what they're willing to do. I mean, 25, 30 years ago, you could barely get, a kiss or something like that, was a struggle. And now, guys are getting threesome just for people to prove themselves to one another. So, we've gotten into this destructive kind of behavior, and we're susceptible to whatever kind of attraction we can get because of that. Because I believe because of that defect in that area. So, when we're talking about people in general now, we're talking about the female and the male. I mean, what do you think um, are some of the main issues that you see when you're looking at uh, our inability to push forward, especially in relationships? And let's just talk about relationships for this.
There is definitely a lack of communication. And I'm not meaning just communicating with the partner, but communicating with yourself, meaning being realistic with who you are, what you want, what you need. If you don't know yourself, you can't go into something and expect something great. So typically in relationships, you'll have two people that go through the dating phase, and the dating phase that they go into is really should be null and void because they don't even know what they want themselves. Too often people enter into a relationship, that relationship ends, I don't know, 6 months to a year, and 2 days later they're right back in another relationship, and that may last 6 7 months, and then they're back in the club the next night. They're not taking the time in between every relationship to learn and grow from what they've just been through, to know exactly what it is that they can tolerate or what they don't like, do like, however you want to term it. So so often people enter into something and they don't know who they are. They say they want one thing but settle for
Hmm.
another. And so when they get into this relationship with this other party, that party is only going off of what has been presented to them. But how can you present yourself to someone when you don't even know the self to present? So,
Well, stop right there for a
clash.
second. I mean, let's address that very poignant point, which is knowing yourself. Um, and a lot of us suppress a lot of that trust, that we were talking about. A lot of us suppress that, right? In essence, and we don't know that it's still bothering us. A lot of us don't know that be our issue. A lot of us in denial, and a lot of us just haven't, we've suppressed it so much that we just don't know that it's still bothering us and it's still affecting us to move forward. So, you know, what are some of the things a person can do, or how can you be sure that you know yourself enough to be ready for somebody else? Let me say that.
You can self reflect for one. You got to take the time to know what moves you, what bothers you, your desires, whether it's when it comes to the sexual aspect or just the intellect. It could be with whatever category, but you've got to know what things are important to you and what things are not important to you within yourself and within another person. You've got to decide what it is that you desire from another person. And you can do those things by meditating. That's one thing. Taking
Mm.
moments to just be with you and look at your entire life, the things you've been through, the person that you were, the person that you are, the person that you want to be. Are you happy? You've got to reflect on you. If you can't do that, you're never going to be able to find yourself. That may not be the easiest thing to do, but I mean, we're in the age of Google. At this point, if you can't sit and figure out how to meditate on your own or figure out what it is that you need to do, you can Google it. You can Google ways to find yourself. You can do that and you'll find, I promise you, a million different ways are going to pop up. But it has to start with, in my opinion, the self reflection slash meditation.
Hmm. So, what are your ideas of meditation? I mean, like, what are some of the things that you can do to meditate? I mean, is that an easy thing to do? Is that require a lot of time? I mean, what would you say could be some of the ways that I can meditate and be sure that I'm getting peace and serenity and harmony or whatever it is that I'm trying to attain from meditation.
Well, until you actually can learn how to meditate on your own, the easiest way to do it, again, is Google. You can Google, or YouTube rather, you can YouTube different meditative videos where they will guide you through it. It's not hard to meditate, it's just a matter of getting in the right positions, getting in that silence. People pray all the time. Meditating is not very different from praying, but there is a difference. The difference is that you got to be able to silence yourself and listen, and not just listening. You got to be able to open yourself up to hear whatever is coming through. So I would say for people, the easiest way, if you've never actually meditated, would be to pull up some type of one of the YouTube videos because it'll guide you through it. You can also meditate in other ways. Yoga, some people will do yoga and you can meditate through yoga. Um, I like acupuncture, but that's a little bit more costly than the free way of just being at home with YouTube. But again, it's a matter of a quiet place where you can open up yourself to the airways, open up yourself to the spirit ways, and just be able to find yourself, asking God to be there for you, asking God to rain down as we often pray for, but you're opening yourself to listen to whatever is being put inside of you.
Hmm. So now, basically, what I'm hearing you saying, though, from a female perspective, is that people need to draw deeper. At what age would you, what age would you say a person needs to kind of go on this self journey before they are very serious about connecting with other people, especially in a more intimate relationship? What age would you?
Um, I think that's something that, I mean, in a perfect world, I think that's something that when you're 18, I say 18 because
Hmm.
that's when you graduate from high school. That's when you're entering into the world for the first time, as being considered an adult. Now, 21 is a legal age, but 18 to 21, I think that's the time frame because that is the time also that people are jumping into these relationships. You're going off to college, and I mean, I did the college thing, loved it, enjoyed it, partied my butt off. But that's also the time that in between you experience so many different things that you lose a lot of the foundation that you were born and bred into. You may lose some of that when you go off to college, or they start searching for something else. And in the midst of you searching, now you're trying to date and involve yourself in a relationship with somebody who may or may not have already found themselves, who's not searching. So you're automatically on two different pages. What needs to happen is around that age of 18 to 21, a person needs to figure out who they are, start the meditation, get yourself together on your spiritual side, because what you were born and bred with was religion, not spirituality. We all went to church, but we weren't taught the spiritual side of things. So you're going away as an adult being religious, but you have absolutely no connection with the spiritual side.
So stop right there because I love that point. Now, so would you say that religion then would be more like a team kind of celebratory, ensemble, and spirituality would be toward the individual themselves, getting closer to who they would consider to be the creator of their lives?
Exactly, because
Gotcha. Now that's
religion is
now
just what you're taught.
Now, the reason why I wanted to make that point was because you make that is a very, very, very good point that we all need to understand is that you can't just continue on. It's always good to have the ensemble. I think there's a scripture that says, let's not forsake the assembling of ourselves, right? So that's great. But sometimes you can get lost in the group and you don't necessarily take an individual, you don't necessarily get that individual control or that individual time with God, that intimacy that you need, that you uniquely need for you. And it's important for you to have that individual understanding and grasp of who you feel and who you view the creator to be. So I'm glad that you said that you got to step out of the group and then go into that individual journey, which I would consider you saying that would be spirituality. Go ahead.
Black people are religious, period.
To a fault sometimes, to a fault, but go
And but
ahead.
Black people need to be spiritual. There is a difference. Religion can be taught. Spirituality is what is felt. It's a connection. It's different. You can go to church every Sunday all your life, as most of us did. And the way you'll know if you are religious or spiritual is if you sit and pay attention to how you act in church. Are you really worshiping? Are you having a connection? Or in between whatever worship you think you're having, are you passing notes? Are you thinking about, I don't know, what you cooking for dinner, where you going to eat after church, the whole 9 yards? It's routine. Spirituality is not routine. Religion and church is. So too often we put our kids out there. We teach them the Bible, we teach them the whole 9 yards, and we expect them to have this connection when all we've taught them is to actually worship a book or worship man, not even God. And we teach them to pray, to ask for things, but we've never taught our children to actually be silent and listen and accept whatever things God is placing in their lives.
Well, see, you can never be, that's another great point, but you can never, the world is so noisy and it's really hard to find quiet time unless you really make a conscious effort to do so. And, it's ironic that we're talking about Black unity in our community. And the first understanding, the first thing that we're coming out with, which is not planned, but it's just what we're talking about. We're going with the flow. But we're talking about basically that we have to understand that it cannot get any better with the tool unless the tool man has the skill set necessary to take the craft to another level. You can't ask the tool to do better. You got to know better. And I think what we need to understand is this is our first step. We have to really get our integrity back with who we are as individuals, right? Integrity has been long lost in the Black community, you know, and now, like I said, we see each other as competitive, more competitive than we see outside races, which really is our competition. That's why they call it the human race, because you're supposed to be, there's a race for resources, and we're not in that race. And I don't see why, because we are what, $1.3 trillion? That's something like the eighth, ninth richest country. All right, now that you're only so much of a percentage in America, but then you have your spending power to where you're ninth or tenth richest country if you was considered to be one. Now that is just too awesome in itself, but it still is not enough to hit you in the gut to let you know that although you spend that much, you are negative 900 and some dollars when it comes to your wealth, right? And then at the same time, you got that $1.3 trillion, but your black owned banks, the biggest banks that you have, only have about 4 point something $billion of that. Minuscule. So we've learned how to work and we've learned how to game, but we have not learned how to spend it on ourselves as we see one another as far as neighbors is concerned. As, just like what you were saying as far as sisters and brothers are concerned. And I know it's because of the game that has been played with our history, and a lot of it has been played even with our present. But we can no longer allow anything or anybody to allow that to play with our future. And so, what are we saying here is what can you do to get to know you better so that you can understand how to first respect life and then see the essence of connection in life. And I believe you got to gain this through nature. As my wife said, you know, meditation is always key. We always practice meditation around here, man. You can do meditation anywhere in your car, in your office space, in your on your school bus, on the MARTA bus, you know, on the train. Them be some of the best times to do it. Get your isolation in anytime you can. The world is so busy; it's trying to drown all that. It's trying to keep you busy. You know, there was an old saying, "Being under Satan's yoke," right? I mean, it just means keeping you so detained, you know, that you can't internalize anything. You can't isolate for a second and really grasp what's going on enough to give everything really good, fruitful thought. You're basically making decisions off the spur all the time, all the time, all the time. Some things do need to be more well thought out and more planned out, and we need to have more integrity with one another. So when we see one another, it's not all about hating on me or looking at me as some. We need to learn how to gain from one another. I want to know how to work with you. You know, how can we work together on things? So we have to internalize why you hurt people or why you are hating on people or why uh you mad at this person doing this. Internalize it yourself. What is wrong with you that you got a problem with somebody else? And you can't do that and you can't come to those conclusions and we can't come to those answers until we get some type of isolation, until we draw in some type of internalization with saying that this situation I'm in is my fault. Now it's only my fault to a point. So what I'm saying is for people who've been messed with young, I'm talking about the babies and all of that. Now it ain't y'all fault. It ain't the baby's fault. But now, you know, when you become of age to where you can get away from your uh, oppressor, no matter who your oppressor is, when you get to an age to where you can get away from your oppressor, that's when it becomes an issue with your decision making. You never ever have a high tolerance for anybody abusing you in any kind of way. And that's not only going for your parents, and that's not only going for your family members, and that's not only go for your friends, but that also go for your social situation, your economic situation. That also goes for your eating situation, right? All these things that we can help ourselves in, that we're allowing ourselves to be abused in, that we're not taking in consideration so good enough. And that comes from integrity. You got to want the best for you, and then you will want the best for me. And this is the spiritual walk that we definitely have to take down the road. Now, another thing, once we take these spiritual routes, each individual will take his own spiritual route the way he can get to the highest integrity that he can live by, the highest codes. I don't care where you get those codes from. But when you get them and you can abide by them and they make you a better individual, then you can come out and understand that, you know, everything is all inclusive, that we're all God's creation. Abusing one thing is abusing all things, right? And then we come into this understanding of what can we do together. Now, my question to the queen is, once we get into the spiritual path, what good would that do for the black male and female relationship?
It could savor a lot of marriages. It can
But what
help.
if money is the issue? If money is the issue, how can me knowing myself and getting closer with dad and me having the highest integrity, what what benefits does that have if we broke?
Well, what that can do is it's building the gap that stands in the way of communication. And one benefit of bridging that gap is that you can communicate together. If you can be on the same page together, then that pans well for building dreams together, building business together, doing things together for the benefit of your family. So when it comes to financial gain, if you're not on the same page, you're not going to have positive financial gain. And I don't care if you are male and male, female and female that are business partners or whatever. Nobody's going to be to have any type of positiveness financially if you're not on the same page. So that builds that gap again of communication, which allows two heads to come together to be able to create ideas or dreams or whatever you want to call them for the betterment of the family.
What are some of the I know we just kind of went over the finances. We know that finances are a big issue in our community. But do you think that finances are the sole, kind of the sole kind of problem that we have in our relationship? Is that the sole reason we don't succeed, or is that the seed that kind of sparks everything? What are your thoughts on that? Because
I think that
a lot of guys would say, man, what I mean, Shawty just want, somebody to, work, or she just want that money or whatever. I mean, is money that big of a deal? Is it a deal breaker?
it's not necessarily that money is that big of a deal. I think what happens is the stability side of things and the entrusting of the other. So, a lot of times in relationships, it starts off one way where he goes to work, she goes to work, or whatever, and that's the way it's been. Then all of a sudden, one day, he says, I want my own business. Well, he ain't never said nothing about having a business before. And if he has, he ain't never did nothing conducive to him being able to get this business. He hasn't shown her that he's going to step out there and do it and do what it takes to make sure that this family is still secure. While in the meantime, he's still making babies with her. He's still making responsibilities with her. He's still purchasing stuff with her. So now you've changed the game. And it's not a matter of the money that she's looking at, it's a matter of the security that she's looking at. Because at this point, say for a married couple, you vowed to take care of me. So now you're saying you're going to get out here and you're going to do this. You're not even asking for my input. By all means, she has no problem even being there, supporting, helping, or whatever. But when she has not seen him doing anything conducive to trying to get this business, that's when money becomes a problem. They're not sitting down discussing, okay, if he's going to do this, how about you sit down and discuss how things are going to be taken care of? Meaning, are we going to downsize? Are we going to not keep, getting all of these expenses? You've got to be able to sit down and say, hey, we're going to have to basically, it's almost like taking a pay cut when you're trying to get a better job, but the amount is a little bit different in the beginning. We're going to have to take a cut for a minute until we can get ourselves together to get to where we want to be. But you got to be on the same page with that. And that's something that needs to be spoken about as well. And that's where a lot of times the miscommunication comes in, that or the issue comes in, and the finances, because women are, we start things, and it's not to say that women can't change, but when we have been doing this way, and now you come out of left field and decide today, just because the sun is out, that you're going to change the game. Okay, wait a minute. You just came home and said you quit your job and you're gonna open up a business, and I ain't seen you doing nothing that showed me that you even have business sense. What am I supposed to do about these 5 kids that we got one on the way? What are we supposed to do about this brand new house or this car? Or, I'm in school. What about my tuition or whatever the case may be? It's something that has to be discussed. And it's something that some things you do need to plan. So you plan out, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? And that's where a lot of the issues come in, to where the
Now
fight
see right there. Now hold
break
right
a
there.
family.
Hold right there. Now see now like when you say with the 5 kids or whatnot. Now some guys would see that and say, well, I was trying to do it big for the same situation. I think what it is that like you said, communication, but we so don't communicate, right? That we have been around each other since the beginning of time, and we still act like we don't know each other. But in essence, we actually do know each other, and we always really end up wanting the same thing. But for some reason, you know it's a struggle. I don't know, but hey, that's men and women. So here's what I would say to what you just said, just to make it real quick and let you move on to make your point. Um, he sees the same situation as she sees, but he will approach it in a different way. So his mindset is, I got 5 kids, ain't no need of me inching, right? I gotta go ahead and jump out here and try to do it big. She sees the situation and said, well, yeah, but that's a hit or miss situation. And if you jump out there, you don't land properly, then there you go, you fall off the cliff. Where if you inch, then there is some surety to each step that has been taken. Now I understand that, but I think that needs to be understood. And that is our issue, is that we really need to learn each other. That's why I always say, watch your woman. Woman, watch your man, right? But not only that, when we're talking about uh, meditation and chakras, and if you ever heard of that term and all of that type of stuff, is really getting one with yourself, right? Getting to a point where you can be open with your significant other. And I think that's a lost thing that's missing. We go out here and we want to be in relationships, but we're not truly willing to give up everything of ourselves to the person. Until you're comfortable with yourself enough to tell somebody else everything about you, you're not ready for a relationship. But anyway, keep going back. Go ahead.
Well, I think part of that also is that a lot of times we don't give we don't give the other person room to grow. So on the flip
Absolutely.
of what I just stated, for one, let me go back a little bit. In those situations, when you have that couple and they got these 5 kids, and he come home and he don't want to work no more, he want to have his own business, okay, that's fine. The way that that should work should be that they should again sit and talk about that, because at the end of the day, somebody got to feed them kids. So you want to get your own business, okay, that's fine, female supported, but there is a way to support it. If she is not working, guess what, chick, you go get you a job, because your kids, unless y'all are going to move in with somebody's mama, cousin, or whoever, because obviously no business is going to make money within the first few months. And at the end of the day, kids still got to eat, rent still got to be paid, a mortgage still got to be paid, or whatever. So unless you guys are going to go and move in with somebody else, somebody's got to bring in some money if you guys don't have money saved. So that is something where it needs to be discussed so that she can hold it down. People do it all the time. White people do it all the time. Black people do too. But it's too often that the husband decides that he's going to go and open up whatever new business. The wife then holds it down. And when he gets his business going, hell, she might decide to go back to school. And then he's holding it down while she goes to school to get whatever degree that's needed for whatever next career field that she's going into. It's a matter of talking about it. But going forward to what I mentioned, as far as being able to be on the same page and understand that people change, you may have entered into a relationship where she was, I don't know, a teacher, and he might have been a teacher as well. But at some point, 5 years later, people change. she might not want to be no teacher no more. She might decide she want to go back to school and be an engineer. He might decide that, hey, you know what? I don't want to teach anymore. I want to open up whatever business, or I want to be, I don't know, a firefighter, or whatever the case may be. You've got to give a person the room to grow. You can't get upset because they've changed what it is that they want, because life changes your mindset. Life puts you in a position to where you go through something that gives you a whole nother outlook on what's important to you. So it is very unfair for whether it's the male or the female to then say 10 years later, well, this is how we lived our life, and you don't have room to grow because I'm selfish enough to say that you got to stay in the same career field for the rest of your life. Things change.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily. I think what we have to be careful of in that situation is, uh, cause things does change. I mean, people does, they do whatever. But I think the most important thing that you should learn out of that is to just know that people have the ability to change, right? Always leave room for that ability, because you can't necessarily realistically go into a situation without leaving a little bit of room for a change in the individual situation. You got to make room for if they were sick. You got to make room for if they ain't really in your life, then what's gonna happen? If they leave, you're gonna be with one income. If they die, you're gonna be with one income. If they change jobs and go to school, you're gonna be with one income. So at the end of the day, you should always be prepared for whatever. You always should leave that room, and not necessarily for negative stuff, but just for the positive of growth. You should
Right.
never go into a situation holding or imprisoning anybody into what you met them at when you first met them. I used to say this one thing, especially when it came to females, because I used to hear this a lot with the females, is that most of the females would present themselves as being finished products at some early ages. Back when they were 25 or 28, they may have been on the job then, 7 8 years, and they felt like, well, they don't need to do anything. I got the house, I got everything that I need as far as my age bracket is concerned. And I always used to say this, yeah, but there's always still room for growth and development, because nobody wants, a 50-year-old, 25-year-old minded woman because you think that didn't have nothing else to do at 25, and now you're 50 and you're still acting childish. So you always want to leave that particular room for anything to happen. One of them definitely being for the expectation of people wanting to grow and develop in bigger and grandiose ways. I mean, I can't expect for the girl that I meet at the McDonald's to stay at McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? If she find a corporate job 8 years later in California, come on, man. Come on. You see what I'm saying? So you gotta understand that that's a part of life.
Right. Yep, I agree with that.
You know. Yeah, I just believe that in a nutshell. You gotta understand that's a part of life. So relationships, how can we get people to stay together? Man goes out, meet a woman, they date, um, then they have sex or whatever, and they become boyfriend and girlfriend, and no more than a year later, they ain't in a relationship no more. And you see this happening a lot and all the time. What are your views on all of these short-term moments where we're going all of the way, but not all the way?
I think my view on that is it needs to stop. I mean, point blank. You know, back in the old days, people courted. There's a difference. And the reason there's a difference is because people don't understand the definitions of dating. Dating doesn't mean that you meet a person and you go on a date and you are with this person for the next 6 months. And this is the only person that you talk to, spend time with, the whole 9 yards. That's not dating. You have turned meeting a stranger into a relationship, and now you're trying to learn as you go. And that's not how that works. In the dating phase, you should be meeting this person and that person, no sexual strings attached, and you're doing just that. You're going on dates and you're trying to get to know the person to see if you and the person have anything in common, to see if you and the person could possibly move to a next level, which would not necessarily be a next level of sexual intimacy, but the next level of saying, okay, we want to date in what we call exclusively just you and that person, spending more time together. Now you're getting to know people in that person's life and so forth. But so often we don't do that. So what happens is you end up within a year, you got a lot of females out here who didn't slept with so many guys because they're dating them and they're dating him. And now guys typically get it right. That's the sad part. We call it cheating, but it's the female dating this one guy and they haven't even established they're in a relationship. He, on the other hand, is actually dating her, but dating her and everybody else. But in the end, none of them have gotten to know each other, which is a fault. So when they do get to be, say, very serious and they decide they're going to, I don't know, move in together, now this is the total person than what you thought you knew. Why? Because you didn't take the time to know the person. What you thought you knew, you didn't know. The questions that you should have asked in the dating phase, you didn't ask those because now you've gotten so tied up with everything else that you've allowed to come in. And then the dating things that we do, you go on a date, you're going places where you can't even have conversation. Go on a date to the movies. Hell, you can't talk in no movie theater. Everybody's
Well,
gonna.
see, so now let's be honest. Is the objective nowadays to get to know each other? Now we know what we need to do, but let's just call it what it is. The objective today to get to know each other just well enough to sleep with each other, or are we actually looking at each other as long-term prospects?
I think people. There are many people whose objective is for a long term, but they're not understanding that with that, getting to know each other is more than just the basic knowledge that we're so accustomed to knowing. I think people have taken the what is it, the saying of you learn as you grow, as time grows on, you learn the person more and more. Well, I think that gets sometimes taken out of context. We are not in a society where your marriage is arranged. If your marriage was arranged by your mom and your dad, then by all means, you're going to learn him or you're going to learn her every day because you don't know nothing about them. But that ain't the situation that we in over here in America and in the state of Georgia. You are picking and choosing who you want to be with. So by doing that, that means that you should be getting to know them on a deeper level than what we're asking. You go out with a person and you just asking the basic questions: what's your favorite color and what you like to do and the whole 9 yards. Okay, what about some real deal questions? Not being ashamed or afraid to question a person's life. You ever been locked up? You been locked up? What were you locked up for? This ain't just for females asking men. Men, y'all need to be asking females some of these same questions. Okay, what happened the last time you got mad at your boyfriend? Did you go slash up some tires or something? We laugh at that stuff, ha ha. But the reality of it is that it's not a joke. These are things that are happening every day. So you get with a person, and then the first time that you see them angry, it's a face that you ain't used to and you don't want. And now you're so far gone that you're stuck. You got females out here killing babies because they
Wow.
killing who he loves so much. Cause I hate him. I'm going to kill his baby now. Who does that? But had you really thoroughly gotten to know the potential of this chick that you got with, honestly, you wouldn't be in the situation that you're in. Had you paid attention to the things she said and the things that she did, then you would have known, you know what? She got a few little rocks that ain't quite connecting in that head. So
No, but sometimes saying that booty though, that booty get in the way of a lot of things that I shoulda and woulda and coulda saw, and I
that's called
think,
self-control.
but that's the thing. So you can't. The only person to me that seems like they will have self control or discipline is one that can show something within the dating scenario. Like I used to know guys that wouldn't even, they wouldn't even hint on taking you to the crib. Nowadays it's kind of like where you meet her at.
But it's a matter of females as well stepping in and demanding that respect. That's the bottom line. Just because his idea of going out on this day is coming to your house, okay, that's fine that that's his thought process. But that don't mean that you have to go along with it. And if he really wants to be a part of your life or spend time with you, then you should be able to come to an agreement on what we're going to do. I mean, everything is not one sided. A person is just like a child. A person is going to try anything in most cases. A kid will try you in a heartbeat. But that doesn't mean that as a parent you allow that child to go along with it. You don't let that happen. And that's with relationships the same way. If it's a female, for instance, the guy can come to her house, he's just coming just to spend time with her. Well, hell, when he look up, she in a bra and panties. He might not be that guy that is trying to just sleep with her like that. But she's putting something out there. That doesn't mean that he gotta literally sexually, have a sexual relationship with her. He can easily open his mouth and say, "No, I didn't come for that. Let's just talk." So no one's fault but the individual.
Now, so first of all, we got to understand that we can't have a community without unity, and we can't have unity without the black male and the black female getting together. And so I was just trying to make a reference to what are your ideas about how we can stay together in these relationships, especially the ones where we're having kids.
Staying together means, for one, whether you're in a legal marriage, meaning on paper through the court, or you're in a relationship that we don't have common law in Georgia, but we're going to call it common law for today's purpose, where y'all are together for all these years, y'all have made a commitment that way. If you're going to say you're committed, be committed, meaning through thick and thin, meaning that you got to be able to give a person second chances. You got to be able to say, okay, you know what? We're going to work through this. Working through this thing doesn't mean going out and calling whoever's mama and daddy and sister and cousin and everybody else. Working through something means we're going to talk about this, even though these things or whatever has happened is a hard topic. We're going to talk about it, talk about how we feel, and go from there. Now, giving that person the chance doesn't mean that you keep on giving a million chances throughout life. If you're being abused by somebody, that doesn't mean that you just sit here and allow this female or this male or whoever's doing the abusing to continuously abuse you. What that means is that you have to be able to say to yourself, I love me enough to make sure that I'm safe and to move forward. But in other situations, you can try to work things out, but you don't allow a person to keep harming you or hurting you, whether it's emotionally or whatever the case may be. So it's a thin line to how it's done, but you definitely have to be willing. You have to be open. You have
So
you have
go
to
ahead.
be honest, and you can't be blameless. You have to be able to accept whatever is going on and accepting your part in that, seeing that it's not just one sided. In most cases, when something happens, whether it's an argument or whatever, that argument comes about not because of just one person. It's two people involved in it. So you got to be able to stop and meditate on that. Meditate on how you reacted or what you said or what you did. That's how you work things out. You have to know that every day is not going to be a happy day. I mean, at some point, you talk about when you first start dating somebody and getting a new relationship, you up all times of night talking about all kinds of stuff. Well, hell, it's only so much to talk about. So eventually, you're gonna run out of some stuff to talk about. Every day is not gonna be a happy day. Every
So what
day
do you
is all smiles.
so what do you do in those times where it's dry and normally
You be
guys
happy within yourself for one. That's
no,
what you do.
normally guys they like to kind of go out and just hang or whatever, this that and the third, but now they got a lady, whatever. I mean, what are your views on getting that me time within the situation to kind of know yourself but then still be able to provide the individual with the attention and that's necessarily needed to progress the relationship?
Well, for one, I think one fault that people do is get in relationships and stop going out and spending time with family and friends and whoever. Just because you're in a relationship doesn't mean you got to sit up under her ass all day and vice versa. So, 9 times out of 10, those days where you want me time, the other person probably does too. But neither one of y'all are saying, I want some me time. Now, if you don't feel like going nowhere, I don't know, get you a man cave or something. You got to be able to have those outlets. That's a big thing because anybody that's stuck up under each other 24/7 every day with no outlet, I mean, that's just bound to be an issue. And we see that growing up with siblings. That's just impossible. So it's one of those things where you've got to find other things when those dry moments come. I mean, you can in your household, it's always good to have extra things, have board games, karaoke machines. I mean, anything that can be fun and crazy. You don't have to always go somewhere. However, if you paying a mortgage, I would suggest that you actually have those outlets in your home for things together. But if one party wants to go out, say you say, okay, well, I'm mad at my spouse right now. I don't even want to be bothered with you right now. Okay, that's fine. Then call your homeboy, go hang out. I mean, you have self control, so you should be able to hang out with your friend and then come home and be okay. So I don't feel like it's something where when you have those down times, it should be a huge issue. You should be able to, number one, be so secure within yourself that even if it's boring in the house, you should still be good. But you can find things to do together, read a book together, just anything, just act stupid together. Bottom line, take a nap together. If both of y'all are tired and don't feel like doing anything, but it's so boring, there is nothing grander than just lay in the bed and cuddle and go to sleep. It's intimate.
Yeah.
Intimate moment doesn't have to be sexually.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't understand the a lot of people don't understand how beautiful sometimes it could be just to be quiet, and a lot of people feel like quietness is awkward and they don't know what to do with that type of space. But like I was reiterating before, that's a great time for isolation, a great time for self-reflection, a great time for self-criticism, and for you to kind of get your bearings together and get yourself together and figure out all the loopholes that you need to kind of get together so you can continue to progress the plan that you guys have together. We don't take advantage of a lot of the downtime, the useful way. We spend it a lot, like I said, going out with friends is good, but sometimes you still need to don't get so busy that you're still not addressing some of the issues that you may have internally with what's going on with you personally. So I always say, we got to do that. So all of this was about was uh, allowing us to see how we can unify within ourselves first. Black unity. That was the first concept. The second concept is black community. Now, what you're going to realize, because we don't really have a bunch of time to go into community, but what you're going to realize is really much of the same philosophy and much of the same dedication and commitment and integrity that it would take to 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 demand the best from yourself and then share that with another is the same effort that it and the same philosophy that it takes in the community. When you commit to yourself and you could commit to the better you, now we can get to how we can really benefit from that type of mindset. That type of mindset that allows us to create, right? Allows us to build together as two people. We can not only create life together as male and female species, but we can also create the world together. And this why it is important to stay together now more than ever before. So the first step is to get you right so that you can be a beneficial partner into this partnership. And the female needs to get herself right so that she can be the beneficial partner in the relationship. And then that partnership concerns doing business in the community with the community. But you can't get to community without unity, first within yourself, second within your partnership with another person. See, there's an art and a process to this. If you can do right with you, which God gave you, that's all you're responsible for is you. Then you should get another. Then you should get another and another. And these is how we build community. This is the process. You can't jump out there and want a whole bunch of things without proving being a good steward over the one single thing you truly got responsibility for. And that is you. That is you. So we need to understand that in order to really grasp a hold on what is needed in our community, we need more people with integrity. We need more people with integrity in our relationships, in our jobs, in our churches, where we do business at. In our spending, we need more integrity. In how we make money, we need more integrity. In how we raise our children, we need more integrity. Our children need more integrity. And you cannot get this integrity without diving deep in oneself and finding the key. And with that key, not only do you get to unlock yourself, but it's also the key to somebody else. And you can get them to understand what it takes to be a unified front. I'm telling you, there's a benefit in unifying with somebody. You don't have to be married. You can be best friends and build relationships that'll build business in the community. You can be in friendships. You can be in families, extended families. It doesn't necessarily have to be marriages and boyfriend and girlfriend. It could be sisterhood. It could be brotherhood. The bottom line is we cannot move forward if you as an individual would not take the responsibility to do your part in pushing us forward. And what we're starting to witness are people sprouting up one by one, doing their part. We talk about community. there's one thing that people could do right now that'll kill two really important things in your life. That's food and medicine. If you only learn how to garden. And you don't have to have no backyard. I know a lot of us live in apartments. That's cool too. They make something for that called pots and raised beds. And just by growing herbs and vegetables, you kill two bills, medicine and food. How does that not register? How does that not register? How are we growing up so mad at life that there's nothing that stops you from taking my life? Not even me living right next door to you. Not even you seeing me all the time at the store. I can understand when you don't know somebody, but half of y'all be knowing the people you're killing, man. Are you really that evil, black people? And I know there's more evil people out in the world, but I'm just addressing us. What about life has took the competitiveness out of us on others and turned the aggression on ourselves? I mean, that's just something I just need to understand because I don't understand it. So we're sitting here walking you through what it takes to be in a relationship, but it's actually in what it takes to be in relationship to man, woman, and into business. If you don't love your woman, no wonder you don't love the community. If you don't love your man, no wonder you ain't doing nothing in the community. You have no love for nothing until somebody show you something. But some of us need to be shown how to do something before we can give anything. And if everybody's waiting on us to, you know what I'm saying, to be shown, you'll never get it.
Yeah.
So we're in these situations with each other, and we're taking out our aggression on each other instead of on the real competitors. We got the Asians, we got the Hispanics, and we got the white Americans building. And we're up here fighting amongst ourselves. I can't stop you from killing me, robbing me. Come on, man. But you won't do nothing to the Asian, the Hispanic, or the white. I ain't saying you got to, but you won't. Your whole target is your brother. Gotta catch him slipping. Waiting to catch him slipping. And if you just take that same mindset and put the same effort into treating your old lady as good as you is a criminal, giving back to the community as good as you will taking from it, you will still be the man the same way you the man not doing negative as a positive, bro. So if you care about just being the man, just be, you're gonna still be the man. I used to tell people all the time, you know, when I was living extreme the negative way, there was no doubt that I was going to live extreme the positive way. I ain't got number one speed. So it don't matter what car you put me in, we riding out. You know what I mean? So this is what this is about, man. Unity within our relationships, within ourselves, and within our community. It is the three levels that each man, each woman, each boy, each girl needs to learn in the Black community to draw closer to the end road in our existence together. We need to get this concept down now. Unify within yourself. What does that mean? That means get to some kind of peace within yourself about whoever, whatever did something to you. Come to peace with it. Don't continue the cycle of hurt and hatred. Don't pass that on to nobody else. Kill it within you. Because until you get that out of you, there's nothing new that can go inside of you. It's taking up too much space. And then when you get that hatred out, love will take over you like a Russian flood. And then when you're able to love yourself enough to know that you should have the best things in life, then you'll begin to choose and make decisions with who you companion with. They'll be better. And there'll be people who can benefit your level of life and how you see life, that lifestyle that you see.
Yeah.
Picking the right individuals. See, because you know you living at a certain standard that you can't, I can't do it. You know what I mean? I know I know she bow-legged, she short, she from Grady Home, but I can't do it. Because right now, my standard and where I'm going and my understanding is so far on another level is that I need an individual to feed and be able to support that, not only financially, but also to converse wise, right? Communicative wise. She got to be able to feed that aspect of my intelligence, that level of my intelligence. We build with one another. When we're able to run our households in a more constructive and conducive and a more productive way, then that is your example that you can run a business in the community. That is your great example that you can manage a business in the community when you can manage your home, when you can maintain your family. That means you can maintain finances. You can maintain your woman. That means that you're great with employees. You can maintain your kids. That means you got great policies, methods, strategies. You can balance the lifestyle. That means you're great at schedules and scheduling. You never late on your bills. That means you're great at the books and accounting. There's no need to jumping out here to learn something when we can format the blueprint within our homes. You first start with your home. Then we can go into business. Yeah. So I just wanted to make that clear of what we're trying to do because we really don't have the time that we need to go into the community aspect of it. But some of the issues of our community stem from our personal issues that we have with ourselves and with others. Bae, you got anything else to say?
No, I pretty much agree with that. And I think it's important to know that as a community is how we can overcome. You know, they always used to say it takes a village, but they were referencing to raise children. But it takes a village, not just to raise children, but to raise the economy, to raise adults, because it's not just about kids. And it takes a village for prosperity because we should be able to work together to come up with things on our own. There's so many of us that want the same type of business, but who has the lack of funds to fund that business. So if I don't know, you want a hot wing stand and I want a hot wing stand and she want a hot wing stand, but ain't none of us got no hot wing stand money. What's so wrong with the three of us coming together to put the little nickels and dimes together that we do have to come up with one big hot wing stand? You know, businesses, the greatest businesses were not built alone. It wasn't one person in most cases that came up with a great business. It was one person that had an idea, it was another person who felt it was a great idea and decided they would invest. And then another person came on board, and there you go. The most successful businesses started by two or three friends or one or two friends coming together saying, you know what, we are going to do this, meaning we are going to put our money into this. But so often, some of us who are better financially, we're so stuck in wanting to preserve and save our money that we can't even see the vision and dream of another person. We're so untrusting that we can't even see the possibility of the idea that they have coming into fruition. So we don't go into it with them at all. Had we thought of that ourselves, oh, we'd be all for it and expecting somebody to join in on your idea. But because we didn't, we're so untrusting of the next person. And I get it because there are so many people who have been burned by the next person. Don't get me wrong, I get it. But at some point, we got to move forward and stop staying on the past. You got to get past what somebody did way back when. You got to move on because everybody ain't the same. So we get so stuck on that that we fail to be able to come together and build together. And that's the bottom line. We can build business, we can build better ways for our community. I've seen things, on YouTube, you can see where people have community gardens where it's just a garden that's just there with vegetables that the community people are planting, and everybody can come and get some greens and peas or whatever else you want to get. By doing that, guess what? The community is eating. And there's no excuse to say that we don't have the land and the places or resources to do these type of things. Because I'm sorry, I done seen one too many churches where y'all are giving all y'all tithes and offerings for y'all to get the new basketball court or to build a parking lot. You got all this land that you're doing nothing with. Don't no church need no basketball and football. Go to the local high school for that. So all this land that you got, you can use that to put a garden. You can use that, these extra, what they call them now, the mega churches. You got the family life centers. Okay, I get it if you're gonna have a rec center for the community, but just one for just your little church congregation, it's not necessary. You don't need to have a full school 12 at your church. You can do
Now, don't step on no toe. Now these preachers gonna come holler at you now.
well, that's okay. The preachers can come holler at me. I ain't scared of no every day. But at the end of the day, the money that's being wasted for unnecessary things in the church is money that could go towards things for the community. Now, don't get me
So,
wrong.
so let me ask you this: Can sisters really work together? Can black sisters really work together?
They can. Sisters can work together. That's a big
So
stigma
you
that
think the
females
brothers can
can't,
work
but black
together?
females can work together.
You think the brothers can work together?
Yeah, they can. They can. I
Okay.
think the problem is that we've been told so much how we can't and can't get along that they don't even attempt because they're going off of the stereotype. We don't like stereotypes, but we feed into them ourselves.
Now, what about some of the people that have done business in the black community and may not have been treated right, for what they didn't get the right service that they needed. And then they don't want to deal with blacks no more. But then, they'll keep giving some of, the white establishments or the Asian establishments a little bit more leniency to get them some bad food or some bad service and they'll keep going back. But for us, we kind of get a one and done.
I mean, nothing is going to ever be perfect. Wells Fargo and Bank of America and Navy Federal and whatever else banking institution that's out here, I can guarantee you on today, they didn't mess up somebody's money. But guess what? That somebody is still going to use that same bank come tomorrow. Everybody
Exactly.
goes to work. Not everybody, but you got people going to work. Somebody's check didn't come through on the 15th, but they went to work the next day. As much as people talk junk about, I better have my money, I'm going to walk up out of here. You ain't walking up out of nowhere. You're going to stay right there. You're going to be mad, but you're going to wait as they tell you, oh, I'll have it ready tomorrow. Things You have to give people room for mistakes. This is not a perfect world. We so often you go into a restaurant and it's the stigma of, oh, you don't want to be served by a black girl because she got a bad attitude. Well, you know what? Maybe she do have a bad attitude and she waiting them tables. No, nobody wants bad service, but maybe she just lost her place today. Maybe she just lost somebody close to her. Maybe she don't know how she gonna pay her rent. So excuse her if she's not feeling her greatest because she don't know how she gonna feed her kids today. So opposed to getting an attitude or just saying, "Oh, I ain't fooling with her no more," why don't you extend yourself to somebody who clearly appears to be having a negative day? Extend yourself to give them that sense and word of encouragement. That don't mean stop doing business with your own people. Hell, there's a lot of white folks who got some shitty businesses, and it's a lot of Orientals that got shitty businesses and so forth. But just because they're black, oh well, they're unorganized or they're this. I've heard so many people in my own family growing up who wouldn't even go to a black doctor because they say, oh, they're not that friendly, or they won't go to black establishments because oh, the service is bad. Well, yeah, in some of them it is bad. And there are some black businesses where black people will try to get over on you. But there are also some in the white community and the other communities. And there are a vast majority of black businesses. They're not trying to get over on you, but you need not try to get over on them. Just because they black and got a business, stop playing the sister girl role. Oh, why I can't get the hookup? You ain't asking for no hookup over there at Chick-fil-A. So why you got to have a hookup over here at McDowell's Burgers? You know what I'm saying?
See, now
We got to
that's
look
my
at
thing.
too. It ain't all them. It's us sometimes.
Right, but see, now that's my thing. It's like, you know, first of all, you got to understand in order to get somewhere, we gotta learn how to shop with each other. You know what I mean? That's just the bottom line. In order to really get somewhere, we gotta learn to shop. We gotta learn to at least. Here's my vision. We spend 1.3 trillion dollars, right? Even if you just do 10% back somewhere, just give 10% back to your community, or mandate 20% of that to come back to your community. The same thing that you would do in building a community, right? I would mandate the establishments over there to put back in 20% of the earnings back into the community. That way we can continue to grow, build, and do what, et cetera, right? So that's what I'm trying to get. Like, why we can't continue to build on that type of understanding, you know, to where we understand, okay, all we got to do is demand that 20% of our spending goes back into our pockets. That's it. Now, I don't know how much money that is, but that's a lot of money. And
See,
that's all we have to do to get somewhere. You really talking about jumping and leapfrogging? That's all we got to do out of $1.3 trillion. Just demand that 20% comes back to us, into our community, into our school systems, into our prison reform systems, right? So we can get our brothers back out of them prisons and back into these businesses. I'm talking about entrepreneur stuff, right?
the only place we put our money back into is somebody's First Baptist Church.
That's how you gonna put it in. And all he doing, he ain't, like you said, he at least could do a community garden. And where some of y'all get a little tax break on the food. You can go over there, get your oranges and grapes and cabbages and collard greens and everything else you eat, right? And y'all good to
Yeah.
go. But he won't even do that.
Nope. Let's turn the Family Life Center into a homeless shelter.
No, we ain't gonna do that because we gonna move to the other side of town because we finna go get something bigger. After y'all just bought that one.
Right. You can move. You can move to the other side of town.
Hey,
But
look,
this
he
facility
just sent
that
us a
you just
collection
left,
plate.
do something with it.
Huh?
You can move to the other side of town, but the facility that you just left, do something with it. Do something for the community with it. Have a
They're
recreation
not gonna do it.
center for the community children. You want to complain about the kids on the street that ain't got nothing else to do, so they standing outside causing issues. Well, hell, if you ain't got nothing to do, what else you gonna do but cause issues? Make something for them to do, and not just things geared towards children that go to your church. Everybody ain't gonna come to your church. You need to have something that's geared towards the community. The community is not one building.
Let me tell you something real quick. The church, man, used to be like the central banking system for the black community. When we didn't have banks, it was a church. And the church used to play an incredible role in a lot of our impromptu systems that we used to have to help each other out. You know, when somebody died, we would have funds for that. And the church normally would be the liaison for that, the trustee for those funds. And you know, somebody died or somebody was sick, they would go to the church and they would take up a collection for families. And that's what the whole collection and everything even came from, was taking up collections for your brothers and sisters for each one of these situations. And then most of the time you knew who you was blessing. Now you don't know where the money.
You know where it's going, but we ain't gonna go there.
Yeah, my fault. Yeah, we know where it's going. So now we said all that to say that those are some of the issues. Now, here's a big thing. If we can get just some of the brothers in our church to get back to community and allow us to use one of their facilities to centralize our money, woo, woo! Boy, y'all don't even understand what I just said, did you? If we can just get some of these brothers and sisters, if you know some pastors out there that can just turn their church back into one of those centralized situations, right? That we can all trust in and that we can put our money in and get shares out of. Ooh, that's all we need. See what I'm saying? One person that'll turn this church into a centralized banking location. It costs $300,000 to get a credit union. We can go ahead and we can raise that this weekend in church. In some of these mega churches, $300,000. We get a credit union in a community near you. And in that credit union, you'll be able to go and get your home improvement loans, your business loans, all of your small business loans, all of your home improvement stuff that you want to do to your house, your new roof, your new paint job on your home, your new deck. You can get all of that done. All we ask for y'all to do, see, we're trying to get you to see that when you get integrity back again, and you can keep your old lady, and you keep your family together, and you keep your man, and you keep your kids together, then that means that you're willing to work, and see, you're willing to work with one another. And when you're willing to work with one another, then you're willing to take on strangers in business situations and things to progress yourself, because you know that little measly job and working for somebody else's finances and their wealth ain't gonna get you nowhere. I just told you $1.3 trillion, but our wealth is negative $975. We got to do something about that. And this is where community comes in at, right? And we can't do nothing else. We can start community gardens. Take the food bill and the medicine bills clean off the map. Once we get you independent on your food, and once we get you independent on the medicine, and you no longer have to go to the doctor for nothing, and you no longer have to go to the grocery store really for nothing, and these fast food places for nothing, then you're learning independence. Now, guess what? You don't have to work half as long on these jobs, reclaiming your kids back, teaching them. You see how this process goes? That if we work together, we free ourselves up from being enslaved with 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, and 60 hours a week. I know we like our free time, and we can have more free time if we combine our assets together. What you think about that, sweetie?
Yeah, that's definitely, I mean, the way that it could be done. It's something that's so simple, but we make
complex.
it hard. Huh?
There's something that's so simple but so complex.
Right. And it goes back to we have to learn how to trust each other. Again,
Yes.
that's the thing. We so out of tune and so out of touch with trusting our neighbor, which I mean, I hate to revert to the church again, but I'm sorry, but you're taught in the church, love your neighbor. And we say that all day, but for some reason, you say it out your mouth, but you don't speak it with your heart. And so, because of that, there is that lack of trust with the next person. And again, you're never going to be able to get any type of wealth alone. I mean, one out of what, every million people is able to do that. But this is a world where help is needed. The greatest people had help. And why not try to help each other, especially if you all have the same idea? Bottom line, black people, black women can work together despite the stereotype. Black men can work together despite the stereotype. And black men and women can work together. Bottom line, every church is not a bad church, but some are just so small and don't have financial resources to do things. But guess what? If you combine your little old church with his little old church or her little old church, that can be one big mega church that can come together to do a community garden on their land. Or somebody who has, I don't know, one of these big homes that's in the millions. You got all that yard for nothing. It's you and another person living there doing nothing. Why not have a garden in your yard? Or why not coming together to buy some land? It don't have to have a house on it. You can just buy some land and put a garden on it, something that the community can go to. There's the place that, what is it? I can't think of the name of it, but it's downtown where it's an artist community where they basically are giving away vegetables and fruits.
Talking about leaf,
Leaf, right?
the leaf, yeah.
Stuff away. How easy is
Think every Wednesday, every Thursday, they give away free veggies, man, fresh vegetables. I mean, by the bulk, literally free. I think around about 10 o'clock.
right? But here's the thing: when you look at it and you go down there and you see the people who are very a big part of giving these things away, half of them are black. So we got the potential and we have the capability and the heart to want to give back, but we do it for somebody else. Some same people that's down there passing out vegetables and stuff, they could be in a whole nother area with their own passing those out. And a lot of the vegetables that are there, a lot of them are grown, on whoever's land, but a lot of those vegetables are coming from stores where you got to sell fresh crops ASAP. You can't just put that stuff back in the refrigerator because you ain't decide to sell it today. So they're giving it away. So even,
Giving it away.
okay, well, we don't have the land to grow all of these things. It ain't just about the land, it's about having the service, which means that you can get the stuff and be able to get it out there. It's just a
Right,
matter
right.
of doing it, coming together to get it done.
So,
So,
do you think we can? I know I asked you, do you think we can come together? But when do you think we should come together?
well, the should is ASAP,
ASAP?
and it should be. We should come together as soon as possible because we've got to look at where our world is now.
Let me
We're
ask you something real quick before you go there. As a woman, do you think that we are competing as black men? Do you think that we're really competing with other races of men to progress our people? I mean, it's just a real good question, but I want to know a woman's point of view on what she feels about our work ethic as to progress our race as men of this race.
no,
Dog, you ain't had to hit me like that, son. You ain't had to hit me
no.
like that. But okay, just go ahead and kind of expound on that a little bit.
I mean, they're
Not because here's the thing. I think men need to hear this, man. Men need to hear y'all tell us that we ain't competing. Because if y'all don't say it, if you keep on babying us, keep on patting us on the back, trying to get that burp out. Let me let my baby burp. Then he ain't gonna do nothing. He's not gonna do nothing. So at the end of the day, you got to let them know: are we doing right by you, mama, sister, wife, gal?
The only people that black men are competing with is each other by mouth, basically. They're competing, and that's the only competition. Um, there is no, they're not even in the race to compete with other races and what they're doing, you know. And I say that with the utmost respect. I ain't trying to be funny, but black men have gotten to a point of, I think, a state of confusion. You know, our generation is confused on what to do. So many ideas, and some of it is a lack of support. But then the newer generation is not that they're confused on what to do. Our generation and the previous generation have spent so much time sticking a bottle in their mouth so that they don't have to want for nothing, that now they're just waiting for something to drop out the sky into their lap. And when it doesn't happen, they're so spoiled. They're just money, 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 money. And so now their thing is, I'm gonna go out here and make quick money and get it by any means necessary. When the reality of it is, you can't even compete with that because I can hustle harder than them, but I ain't never been on no street corner. These kids know what it's like to sell. Majority of them are out here selling a dime bag. I ain't trying to promote drug selling, but at the same time, you out here doing something that you don't even know what you're doing. So you selling something, but you still ain't got nowhere to stay. You selling weed, or you ain't even selling hard drugs. You just selling weed or selling Percocet or something. Right. Or you hustling some little pills you can get out your grandmama's closet or something. So you selling this, but you don't even have anything to show for it. You don't even have the capacity to even try to think of having something to show for it. So the competition is just going downhill from there, from the next generation to the next generation. There is no competition. It used to be where white people were afraid of the potential of where the black man could be. I don't think they really have that fear anymore with the upcoming generations. And if they shouldn't. For what? What you scared
Ooh, that kind of hurt me because I came up in that that era that my hero was Martin Luther King, and so I always viewed those brothers as being like the real brothers, the stand up brothers, and to hear you say that is a real kind of eye opener to the transition that is happening. You know, we kind of came in that era where we got to see Little Boy King and all that kind of stuff. So the residual of Martin still laid on us real heavy, real thick. But now that residual is real light, and it's almost, you really ain't got nothing to hold on to now. And
there is nothing to hold on to in that respect. We
yeah,
don't have Martin Luther Kings in this generation. We don't have no Malcolm X, no Medgar Evers. We ain't got none of that. And so when you think about it, the question should be, who and what do we have? Who is talking about black and black love for each other? Who is saying these things? Well, we have what you call the conscious community. However, the conscious community spends so much time just talking and they ain't doing. So, with that being said, what's the purpose of that? You spend so much time fighting with the next person when y'all supposed to be on the same page, but you're fighting with the next person over something that ain't getting you nowhere. We have these marches. I remember going to the last Million Man March. Okay, well, I'm sorry. I'm still trying to figure out, and by all means, Louis Farrakhan said some great things. Don't get me wrong. But I'm still trying to figure out what the or else is. It was called Justice or Else. And I ain't figured out to this day what's the or else.
what
Because
is justice? Did we get some
they say
justice?
nothing about what the or else is.
I don't even think we got no justice. But go ahead.
Right. So it's like, okay, we gonna all gather, and I went all the way to Washington, went all the way out there for what? To hear the same speech that I've always heard, to hear the plight of the Black man to hear what happened in the past and to hear what the problem is now. Okay, I heard it. I've been hearing it for 39 years. And then what? What else you gonna tell me? But on the flip side of that, our fault becomes of our own that we shouldn't be waiting for somebody to lead because by now we should see that we don't have anybody apparently that is capable to lead. And the ones that we do have who are capable to lead, no one wants to listen to them because they're not the ones that said it or did it first. So at this point in this generation, our age range, we have some people out there, but they're few and far in between. The next generation, oh, they ain't got nobody. The Fetty Wap generation, those who listening to them, don't get me wrong, I like some of the music too, but it's a difference. There is no one. There is no one for the 25 and under crew that's gonna lead. Lead us where? Lead us
See,
and then some.
that's the thing. I do agree with you. I don't believe that we have maybe one person that we can depend on. And that's why it's so imperative to really get the essence of what this is about. We don't have one. All of us can be one. And when we understand the understanding of cooperation with one another, where each vote counts, right? No man is greater than the other. No matter how much money you got, no matter what side of town you come from, no matter what your background is, no man's voice, no man's vote is greater than the other, right? It doesn't matter. And when we get to that understanding, I believe then we may have more of a see. We got to bring back some rules and regulations in our situation. That's what we ain't got. I think we've been lulled to sleep by some of these things that tell us we can do anything and we'll be all right because we don't have a whole bunch of discipline, right? A whole bunch of grasp on how to be disciplined with the resources, whatever that may be, whether that be another person, whether that be water, air, electricity, food. We have to learn how to be a little bit more disciplined with what's going on. We got to stay tuned to what's going on because we actually are the race to progress the new world, and we don't even know it. The old way is going to become the new way, and then nobody know the old way better than us. But we can't forget it. So it's one of those things of where, just like my sister said, when are the brothers who are listening to this now? And I want everybody who's listening to share the video. And don't be afraid to share the video. Share positive information going out, right? And allow people to understand that integrity, a commitment to a higher standard, Black excellence within oneself is the standard. And you demand that to every Black woman that you meet and every Black child that you create. That Black excellence doesn't have to come from some social standard of society that where our Black people feel like you're acting white when you're talking proper and you're acting white when you're doing customer service very well, right? So let's create our own thing, Black excellence. And that should be the highest standard of customer service. White man ain't even seen no service like this yet because it's ours. And it's the best service. See, let's create our own standard, right? They ain't even seen relationships be so fruitful and be so committed and dedicated and organized, right? They ain't never seen that because that's Black excellence. But we got to demand it within ourselves in order to give it. And we can't ask and go vote for white folks to give us Black excellence. They ain't gonna do it. Now I know you like to go vote, but you can't get Black. They're not gonna give you Black excellence. They're not gonna give you the finances to finance your business ideas or whatever you're trying to do for your community. You can go down there and vote, but they're not gonna give you that. And I wouldn't give it to you either because they're your direct competitor. And nobody's gonna give you a leg up, especially when they see that you won't even do it for yourself. So these are the things, man. Integrity, integrity, integrity. For every man, boy, and girl that's listening, if you can just commit to yourself a higher standard of living and you can get back to the natural way of living and the natural way of thinking about things. And you can get your wife and you expose her to your girlfriend, and you expose her to another way of thinking, another lifestyle choice to make. It's another lifestyle choice to make. It ain't just what we've been pushed into believing. You don't have to believe everything that they hand to you. There's another option, and we're giving you this way. This is what I believe me and my wife's whole thing is about here. We're showing you guys what it takes. You only got one life to live. One life to live. Live it to your fullest. Let's pay attention to our children. Teach them Black excellence. But first, you got to learn it. And we demand this from every company that we create from here on out. We demand this from every child that we raise from here on out. They used to whoop us better than the white man did, and we embarrassed them when we came home back in the day. Because it was all about the last name. You embarrassing the name. And we need to get that pride back into things again. I dare you not act like that because I taught you well. Not because I whooped you well, but because I taught you well.
Not well, you know, it's become...
But because I taught you well. Go ahead.
It's become cute now for people to have their kids displayed as acting ignorant. It's all over the videos, the YouTube like videos.
They like 1 year old, they like to hear, shit, man, that ain't cute.
Right.
Yeah, my face. That ain't cute.
Right. It's cute. It's little girls twerking, or it's a little boy on YouTube now that they keep showing videos of him where he's, you know, talking crazy to his mama, and you want me to leave or move out or something. That stuff just cute.
Lil Jane, you want me to go home? You want me to walk out, mama?
Right. That stuff is just not cute. It's not cute for any child. And that what you think is cute with your child at 2 and 3 years old, you're not going to think it's cute when they pulled over and locked up at 16, 17 years old. I'm seeing it all the time on a daily. It's not cute. You ain't teaching your kids the proper way to be. And quite frankly, I don't want to be around nobody's child acting ignorant like that. I don't care if they're black, white, blue, green. It ain't cute. And as a parent, you should know better. And your child can't be better because you don't know no better and you ain't teaching them no better. But how can you teach them when you ain't paying no attention? Bottom line. So the issue with our children, people always say, you know, you don't blame the parent, but I blame the parent, because if you ain't spending time with your kids, you ain't sitting down doing homework with your kids, you're not asking them simple things like, how was your day, to be involved in the 8 hours that you ain't there, and you expecting a teacher to teach them everything that they should know, and then they come home and you don't want to do anything but text or be on Facebook or whatever it is you're doing, you suck as a parent. And because you suck as a parent, your child is going to suck as a human being, and they're going to fail to be a productive person in this world, period. Bottom line. So our children's children can't get any better because we don't teach them any better. You know, you mentioned people saying things like, oh, that person's talking white, or, well, it's like, okay, because a person uses proper English, then that's signify a specific type of person. No, that should just signify that I may not speak slang. I'm sorry. I may use proper English. Is that a crime? My bad. You know what I'm saying? But we so often down that person because they sound different or act different. Maybe I want my child to be successful in this world, and I felt the need to teach them how to speak properly. But people don't look at it like that. And that is another downfall to where our generation is going. So when you ask how quick do we need to get better, to get ourselves together, to get this community together, it's ASAP, because it's only falling and failing downhill.
So what do people need to know? I mean, what is some of the information that our people need to know to get it together right now? Do they need to know about the benefit of renting or owning a home or land? Do they need to know really the benefit of gardening? And can you do it on your patio? Or can you start a fresh garden even if you don't know how to do it? Is it is that really going to impact their lives, or are we just talking crap? Um, what are some specific things that our people can do to read about, to get to know more of, to understand how to even when it comes to yourself, right? Like when we're talking about meditation, you can do that tonight. You can start that tonight. Start telling yourself that you're going to meditate. Remember, meditation is not prayer. It's not what you run in your mouth. It's more
Yep.
about you sitting back and listening and just taking in, right? Another thing, long walks in nature by yourself. You know what I mean? Just take long walks, not a whole bunch of talking. Listen, get you right back to the place you need to be, right? Um, um, mind development, right? Learning more things than just your job or just what you know currently in your skill set. Learn different stuff, something totally different from where you work at, right? Do that too. And what that does is that opens up you to new things, opens your mind up to new things, get you out of the box. So you see all these things are mechanisms that you can do right now to move you from stagnation into movement, into motion. Remember, emotion is only energy in motion. So you use that frustration, you use that desolation and that destitute and that anger. They say we angry, but a person with anger could literally move a mountain if they utilize that force for good. So you can utilize your energy for good. And there are places and spots that are in positivity that will get it, that will just soak it up. And these are some of the offshoot things that you can do. And then you learn about cooperations in your history. Learn about how we did business together in Black excellence, right? With no fear of each other. So we get to learn those aspects. And then what are some of the other things that you think, babe, that we can just do directly right now?
I mean, I think those are the main things that you cover. You know, you're starting off with growing, learning how to, you don't have to go and get a farm with, I mean, cows and
Chickens and all that.
and the whole 9 yards. That would be great if you can, but you can do the gardening aspect of it.
Yeah, the little patio stuff.
You've got to learn your health. You know, we've gotten so out of touch with how we eat. You know, my grandparents, well, I mean, there weren't really no McDonald's in Winsboro, Louisiana, but it wasn't no go in get no hamburger and go and get no pizza and all of that when I was down there for the summers. I don't even think I ever really ate pizza down there at all. It was my grandmother cooking, and she cooked breakfast, lunch, dinner, and supper. Bottom line. And it was fresh stuff. You know, we don't even know how to eat healthy anymore because everything is all about convenience. My mom, my mom does not really just do fast food like that. And she didn't when I was growing up. And can't nobody say, oh, well, because people have a job, they can't do it. My mother worked a full time job and she was a full time single mother. And she still found the time to cook, to clean, to make sure that her children's education was well taken care of. She didn't miss a PTA meeting. She didn't miss any type of conference. I was not in any lack of activities. Anything I said I wanted to try, me or my sister tried it. She was tired, I'm sure, because just thinking about it makes me tired. But my mother was an active mother, and my mother was not a young parent. My mother had me at an older age. So she really should have been tired because at that age, who wouldn't be? So it's things like that. learning how to get back to those days of planting things health wise. There are some things that I'm sorry, Robitussin just ain't gonna knock it out. Everything, and everybody ain't got insurance. So learn some remedies that we naturally were doing that you got right in your home, because the reality of medication is that for whatever ailment it's fixing, it's gonna give you another one. Trust me, I know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Huh?
Now, I just agree with you on that, one, man. That medication ain't gonna lead to nothing but something else happening to you. Yep.
Right. I mean, it's so many different things, and I'm not saying you can't ever take anything, and it's definitely going to be hard to just stop everything cold turkey, but you weed your way off, and you got to first start by learning new things. That's just the bottom line. So, health wise, learning things about being healthy. We talked about the planting, looking at business ventures and building bonds with your people, building bonds with people, females. You and her got the same interests. You and her be on the same page. Just because you don't know her like that don't mean you can't get to know her like that. Talk about interests. Y'all work the same job. If y'all work in the same job in a certain type of field, obviously y'all got some of the same thought processes because y'all in the same place. So why not put these two heads together, and maybe we can be competitors, with this job that we're on.
Hallelujah. That's what I've
So
been trying to say right now.
those are starts to what we can do, and not just learning each other. We're talking about building the black community, but by no means do I want anybody to feel like we're having a problem with any other race. One thing about it is that at the end of the day, we are all God's people, and being God's people means that we don't just need to know things in our own. We need to know things about others all over the world, learning other cultures, learning because the reality of it is that you can learn a lot from some other cultures. It's some things that they over there doing, growing or whatever, I don't know, in Syria or something, that I probably could learn something from. It's some type of remedy that they using to get rid of asthma somewhere in China that I ain't never even heard of. Claritin to have you over here all day. It's albuterol. Albuterol to have you still suffering with asthma for 10, 15 years. They might have something in Japan that knock it out. But because I am not learning other people and other methods, I'll never know. So we have to understand that we've got to be more open. Being intelligent
You gotta be a global
on
people.
one thing is knowing a vast of some of everything. That's called wisdom. Wisdom don't come with just limited information. Wisdom comes with knowing so much and using what you know to grow and to grow what you believe in.
Yeah, we definitely got to be a global people. I think it's definitely time um, for us to move forward, to progress in so many different areas. One of them being taking responsibility for what we haven't done for our own success story. And that's what we were trying to do here tonight, was try to present a platform, some type of forum that you would get the female and the male perspective on uh, the state of the black union and what we as a couple feel that we need to do to grow stronger as a partakers of the black race, but as also too as people of the world, what we have to give to offer to the world, right? And
Yeah.
allowing our people to see, love in action, not only between one another, but love in action for our people. That we're able to give ourselves over and our wisdom over to help in any kind of way that is possible. And these are the small but relevant steps that we all can take. And so learn more. I encourage each and every one of y'all to learn your Egyptian history, um, learn more African history, um, learn more different cultures, like my wife said, to get more global minded. Um, but ultimately fall back in love with yourself. and fall back in love with being Black and being a part of an amazing race. And so, that's all I really wanted to say today. Is going on about 2 hours, so we're gonna shut it down. I got to, get up in the morning and hit it again, man. But I appreciate all the viewers. Like I said, for those that missed it, you can always go on my YouTube channel and subscribe, the Black Information Station, where you can get all of the information for your inspiration. Um, and just follow me, man. Follow me on YouTube, Facebook, King Render, um, Instagram, Sir Render 100. Um, continue to support the movement of just giving out information. I feel like it's just a calling on my life to share the information as I yet get it. And I'm constantly searching for new information to give to my people about land, about um, finances, about love, about God, about just the whole journey, man, of being human and being Black. And I'm proud and I love it. And I know you see it. And you see it in my wife, man. I love my wife. She's beautiful. She's Black. She's intelligent. And we don't wish nothing but the great things for everybody, man. And union for everybody. We know that it'll benefit not only the individual, but it'll benefit us as a community of people. And this is just what we're trying to push, man. And so that's all I really got to say, man. I'm gonna let my wife end it out on that note. I appreciate all you guys again for viewing. Please like the YouTube page, subscribe, share the video, Facebook, Instagram, to all your people. We coming back at you with another video. We hope y'all ready for it. Come back in and we'll take all your live chat, your comments, whatever. And we're just gonna keep on keeping this thing going, man, so that y'all can see Black excellence at its finest. Peace. Love y'all.
Everybody have a good night. Each one teach one. Take what you've learned and apply it. We can't get any further in life without application. Have a great night and God bless.